Now joined by Forestry and Fisheries Deputy Minister Narend Singh, who was a colleague and a friend of the late Pravin Gordhan. Mr. Singh, a very good afternoon to you. Thanks very much for your time. You've known this man for over 40 years.
Good afternoon to you and to your viewers. In fact, over 50 years would be more correct. When I joined, when I became a student, first-year student at the university in Salisbury, Ireland, in Durban in 1971, Pravin was already there for a few years before that. And when I got onto campus, I got to know Pravin as the activist, SRC leader in the area, anti-apartheid activist. And it is from that time that I've known of Pravin Gordhan and worked with him in different arenas from then until now.
I mean, of course, you belonged to different political parties.
That's correct. That's correct.
I must also add that at some point we're at loggerheads.
Yes, absolutely. And I mentioned it earlier to somebody else that, Pravin was in the Natal Indian Congress, where I followed him. And when I got into Inkatha Freedom Party in 1993, I realized that there were run-ins between Pravin Gordhan and the IFP, and recall as well the then president of the Women's Brigade, the chairperson of our Women's Brigade, the late Faith Gasa, led a delegation of women to his house late at night at Sydenham because he had said what they considered some unsavory things about the IFP. So, I mean, he didn't have a very good impression of the IFP at that time. But as we moved on into 1994, when I joined Parliament for the first time, and he was in Parliament, and he met people like Prince Buthelezi and other IFP leaders, I think there was a realization that we are all committed to the same cause of ensuring an end to apartheid and contributing to a progressive South Africa.
Of course, I mean, you had to work together, and you belonged to a number of committees that had to play an oversight role over ministers and departments. And I mean, everyone agrees that he had a stellar performance at SARS as the commissioner and later on as the Minister of Finance.
Yes, absolutely. And I think my very close association with him in Parliament was when I served on the Portfolio Committee of Public Enterprises in 2007. And PG was the Minister of Public Enterprises then for a period. And one saw his commitment, his passion to drive out corruption. And it was rather unfortunate that, there were those that worked against him from within his own camp. And I would remember other members of his caucus telling me that, Minister Pravin tried to raise issues of corruption in his caucus. And it wasn't treated with the kind of impetus that that caucus should have dealt with the matter. But he stood by his principles. He was vilified a number of times, but I think the State Capture Commission report has really, made sure that he has been vindicated in terms of the kind of corruption that he witnessed within state-owned enterprises.
But, I mean, certainly in latter years, I mean, public enterprises, or he didn't have as stellar a record in public enterprises compared to, or for example, juxtaposed with finance and with SARS and those other portfolios.
No, that's correct. I think the rot had set into the state-owned enterprises. And, sometimes it's very difficult to turn things around. But what one credits him for is exposing the kind of rot that existed within many of the state-owned enterprises. And I recall when he was removed as a minister and he was made an ordinary committee member of the Portfolio Committee, we sat next to each other when one of the CEOs of a state enterprise which will remain unnamed appeared before us. And Pravin was bombarding him with questions, question after question, until I nudged him and I said, you know what, Pravin, don't ask too many questions, because the people from public enterprise and department officials like to be asked these questions, so time runs out. Because the chairman always says, well, it's 12:30 or 1 o'clock, we've run out of time, and we'll get the answers in writing. So I think he didn't quite understand how portfolio committee and ministers or CEOs should work. But, he was prepared to expose, the kind of rot that he found, even at the level of being a member of the portfolio committee.
How was he, or during your encounters, what kind of a person did you find in him at a personal level?
At a personal level, we had our differences pre-1994 and maybe for a few years after that, but we got to know each other very well on first name basis. He was one who didn't take criticism too lightly. And even if in a portfolio committee we would express some kind of opposition to the continued existence of the ministry, he would come afterwards and say, but Narend, I'm fighting a battle here that's quite difficult. And I remember at one stage as the IFP, we put him on terms and said, well, this is the last time we're supporting this budget because we don't think there is need for this kind of ministry, and all the SOE should fall within, the line function departments. But we gave him the benefit of the doubt because we realized that if there was ever a leader of public enterprises or minister, it would be him that would try and sort the rot out.
Forestry and Fisheries Deputy Minister Narend Singh, thank you very much for your time.